human mind is a melting pot of feelings. Memories, obsessions, wishes, agonies, and the feelings of happiness and sadness. Stronger emotions have stronger impetus. The combined effort of numerous people has brought Lobotomy Corporation to where it is now. We had to keep on with various experiments. Just as we hire new employees now, we recruited numerous people for the experiments. There was not a definite shape at first. Then it slowly assumed a form. Finally, A understood while he was studying the changes. Their abilities, where they lived, their jobs, and their strengths were not so important. What was required is a massive amount of energy. This meant we had just one single thing to pay attention to. It's always floating around left to rot at the back of everyone's head, twisting your mind until you are left with nothing but self-loathing. The subconscious. Come to think of it, I haven't properly asked for your opinion. Do you truly wish to meet A? Of course. Alright then. I will let A know of your thoughts when he returns. However, do not expect him to give you a warm greeting. A is a person who conceals his mind. Perhaps even more than I do. Manager, how did the Sephiroth appear to you? You must see them as humans, just like yourself. Irritation, smiles, desires, and frowns color their faces, a range of emotions much more human than myself, perhaps. However, are you aware of a key fact? If there were to be any AI in this place that would be sophisticated enough to be considered as a human in this terms of appearance, only I would fit that criteria. Haven't I been telling you since the beginning? I am the one and only truly superb AI here. To witness the essence of things is not at all important in this place. All that you can see is distorted and filtered quite heavily. Everything here is constructed just for you. Perhaps you could understand it better, if I put it that way. Oh hey look, it's Tiphereth. Here is Tiphereth, who you should already know. Are you really Tiphereth? What kind of stupid question is that? What do you think would be otherwise? That dumbfounded expression never ceases to amuse me. To tell you the truth, this part is usually where it gets boring, but that great expression of yours does give me a chuckle. You don't happen to think I'm the only one, right? Every Sephiroth you've seen is just like me, and the same goes to the Sephiroth you'll meet in the future. I know I said in the past, I'm dumb. All thanks to that stupid AI ethics amendment. Next here is the place where we were born, and where we will return to someday. Maybe, after everything is over, we will rest here, singing the song of our hometown. I hope your next version will last longer, Tiphereth. Well then, Tiphereth, I will send the next one over whenever he's ready. Thank you, Lady Angela. So this is where everyone was. It took me long enough to find you guys, since you weren't at the meeting room. What's happening, Malkuth? Netzak asked me to fetch a document from the other Tiphereth. Oh, I'm afraid it's not ready yet. Something urgent turned up. And make sure to tell Netzak that he should show up himself next time. Well, Netzak said he's a bit busy. I'll tell him to visit you another time, then. Why are you uppers all the same? Netzak isn't busy at all. He just doesn't want to move. But I'm having fun with this errand. Oh, you're replacing Tiphereth right now? Looks like the cycle's getting shorter. It must be concerning, Tiphereth. Don't worry about me. Just be mindful of your notebook. It looks like it'll fall apart to shreds at any moment by the looks of it. Oh, it is. Thank you for concern. It was a pleasure to see you too, Manager. Nice to meet you. I'm Tiphereth. You can skip the introductions, Tiphereth. Right now, it's time for you to examine the plan that Netzak gave us. Alright. What happens to him now? What do you mean, what happens to him now? Ah, are you talking about the machine we just discarded? New errors could pop up if the old one is not completely terminated. And that'd be very troublesome on my end. Well, I am in charge of Central Command. There are two of us at the same time. I always feel like I need more than two of me around here. And for her new mission, we have to clear the day without letting a single containment unit meltdown expire. Basically, we actually have to work the tools I've been ignoring, which is, Old Faith and Promise and nothing else. Pretty simple mission, but it could be troublesome with some tools. Oh, but we're not done with cutscenes yet. Oh, hello, sir. Sorry, I'm quite busy. I still haven't finished even half of what I've written down in my notebook. Hey, I heard extraction experiments are going to be conducted. When I looked over the list of participants, I couldn't find my name on it. I mean, there's probably a ton of reasons behind it. Maybe I'm just not good enough for the experiment yet. But may I join the experiment too? I've learned a lot here. I'm sure I can help you in some way. I'll be sure to not disappoint. Hello, manager. It's sad to not have enough talent, isn't it? If someone doesn't look back towards you, what does that mean? That they don't acknowledge you? That they don't even care about what expression you may be making? That they feel no need to see what you're doing, as they have already come to a conclusion? Have you ever clawed and scraped at the floor, writhing in pain? It really does sound excruciating. But in reality, the moment I completely lost my fingernails, I felt nothing. You stare at the flesh where your fingernails used to be, and just before you lose consciousness, when you feel that you aren't yourself anymore, you start to laugh frantically, even though it's not funny at all. And on the ground you catch a glimpse of someone's shadow, and their feet as they look down on you. Guess whose feet those were? When the person who disliked looking back so much finally turned around, everything was over. Did you see the fragments of despair from there? Or were you staring at the bits of my fingernails scattered on the floor? That was the exact moment I knew true helplessness. Without you, I'd never have known the feeling. Thank you so much. Now, what about you, manager? Have you ever felt helpless to control anything? When unbearable things pour down from somewhere that isn't your body and overwhelm you, it just feels so awful to be helpless, being out of control of yourself. Come on, please tell me, so I can feel rewarded just a bit. Elijah was impatient, and her impatience caused many common mistakes. She once went on a long, winding filibuster of why she needed to finish the experiment, but I don't remember the details. Whenever she was told that she wasn't ready yet, I could see the strong desire in her eyes. It was a craving, a bizarre obsession. If another person had been in my place, they may have turned around for the sound of her hasty footsteps. Coquito is something that she could not access at her level of authority. The only task she was ordered to do was record the changes that occurred in the test subjects. She was aware at that moment that Coquito was absolutely not ready for human use. When I finally realized what was going on, half her teeth had fallen out, and... Kill me, please, kill me. Ignore her. So yeah, we do have to do a course suppression. Malkuth is gone off the deep end a bit. Are you discovering the deep scars that are inflicted upon this place? Manager, there is something I hadn't informed you of when we spoke for the first time. The Sephiroth, of course, wholeheartedly want to meet you. They admire you and follow you. However, at the same time, they earnestly yearn for you to be swallowed up in resentment and curses. Please be careful with them. Well, you don't have to pay that fact too much heed, if you wish. What I mean to say is, you are free to go back to your daily routine. It's no big deal for me to fill their roles if some of our Sephiroth go mad. Though, if you do, then you will lose something important forever. The seed that can break the cycle. Yesod, do you really feel nothing about this? Try drinking some Inkafal and close your eyes and open them again. I'm glad to see that you're not as feeble-minded as the other Sephiroth. It is important to keep a clear mind in any situation. Gabriel, why are you scratching yourself so much? Seeing as we're meeting again, you must have completed your tasks, manager. I'd give you a compliment if I didn't have so much work to do. The information team has a task they must do periodically. You must have realized that there are some blanks in their abnormality records. Among the tremendous amount of information we gather, there are some that should remain off limits to the employees for security reasons. The names of the employees are one such thing. Any trace of them, what happened, their gruesome death, their desperate will to live, all of that has been stripped from their records on their false pretense of expunging information. There is no way for me to know what the criteria for stripping the records are. They are set by another department, not us. We only manipulate the information we receive, per orders. Isn't it funny? We've degenerated into a department that destroys and manipulates information as ordered, yet somehow we're still called the Information Team. Whenever I introduce myself as a Sephariah of the Information Team, I sometimes feel something bubbling up inside of me. Yesod, did you receive the documents to expunge? You'll get the list of employees as soon as well. Please do not forget to review it after you have finished expunging the documents. Mrs. Angela, what do you think it means to remember someone's name? This is a work you regularly do. Why are you so emotional about it today? Maybe names are marks atypical beings gave each other, to engrave each other upon their memories. Someone might have named you Angela following the same concept. Yesod, if you happen to be too tired, please take a break. I knew you would say that. Referring to employees by name is not recommended here. When employees first enter the company, each one receives their own unique identification number. This is to allow the company to identify them using the minimum amount of personal information. We have their numbers in our data storage devices. Malkuth has never called the employees by their names ever since she started working here. Maybe she is the most ideal Sephariah amongst all us Sephiroth. I cannot talk, even in this dramatic cutscene. This is not to say that Malkuth deserves to take all the pain as well. None of us do. What kind of poor taste is that, to lock us inside metal bodies and throw us into an endless loop of days that feel just the same as yesterday? I'm talking to you. What's with the oblivious expression? I heard you might be one of the architects responsible for our creation. The only thing I could do here is remember the names of a few forgotten employees and eternally despair, feeling nauseous from even a single breath of air. Have you had fun watching your guinea pigs run around in circles? See, I told you, I've been rotting from the inside for a long time. Gabriel was more rational than anyone else. He was unmoved even after hearing about what happened to Elijah. Some say he lacked empathy, but nobody realized that his emotions were festering on the inside. Maybe he began falling apart from long ago, ever since Carmen left this world. He slowly became expressionless. He wouldn't allow himself to have even a paltry joy. He also couldn't stand having even the smallest part of his body exposed. We made a monster that was not supposed to exist in this world. We went too far to ever turn back. To not let what Elijah did be in vain, instead of taking the time to grieve, everyone knew they needed to utilize this result to the fullest. He tried to maintain a facade of level-headedness, but his attempts to remain rational slowly morphed into an obsession. He started to wear long-sleeved clothing that also covered his neck. Not much later, he started to scratch himself harshly. We suggested he receive a complete medical examination to see whether he was contaminated or had an infection, but he refused. We enforced the procedure. Health checkups were needed to prevent further damage. Persuasion became coercion, and coercion led to the use of physical force. He was tied and bound for the checkup, but he resisted so desperately that it was hard for us to watch him. Eventually, it turned out that he wasn't infected at all. Was that really fortunate, though? No, it wasn't. The examination did not resolve anything. He kept scratching himself, so harshly, even worse than before. When I saw him last, he wasn't lucid or cognizant about any human speech, and his body was completely covered in scratches. No one has seen him since then. Don't worry, Hod, that's a very common side effect when you first take enkephalin. It's just like a light hallucination. It'll disappear after 2 or 3 times, so don't worry about it too much. For me, it was an employee whose face had half melted, crawled over my feet and grabbed me by the shoulders, asking me why I let her die. That wasn't a hallucination or anything. Then what? Are you trying to say that the dead employees are suddenly coming back to life? You know, like, unbelievable things happen here, so maybe it is possible for dead employees to come back, as if nothing happened, right? I'm not in any state to say this, but you don't look too good. Why don't you skip today's meeting? I can't do that. We have an abnormality response training today. They need me to run the drill properly. You're really something, huh? I don't think there's another Sephariah here who cares about their employees as much as you do. Right? Look, Tiffany, I was right. I'm a good person. I'm a good Sephariah. Hello, everyone. Today we will... Are you still trying to play the good Sephiroth? Be focusing on abnormality response training. How many times do I have to tell you, you're only a sad piece of rusty scrap metal putting on the act of being a good person? Now, I want everyone to play close attention here. The abnormality we're suppressed today needs to be handled a bit differently than there were others. If you had hoped that living such a lie would ease your conscience, that's really selfish. Starting now, I will be explaining the method I devised. Please listen carefully. At least the other Sephiroth are humble enough to admit that they are not perfect. Quiet! Oh, sorry. Where were we? Excuse me, Miss Hod, I have a question. Yes, what is it? Do you think that this training will make any difference? I mean, against that long bird, it feels like whoever will die or live is all predetermined, and there's nothing we can do to change it. Well, it should yield a better result than just doing nothing. At the very least, you can prepare a preventative measure, rather than just wait helplessly to... It's just all about luck. We'd be better off and more comfortable to simply accept that we can die at any moment while working. Just know this. You won't reach that paradise no matter what you do. I'm doing this all for you guys, even the counseling campaign. Now that you mention it, that compulsory counseling campaign is such a pain. We'd rather have a break time instead. Why is our department the only one that has to deal with these programs? It will keep repeating itself. Live with eternal sorrow and remorse in that metal mass. Well, all of you would be dead by now if I hadn't helped you. Why aren't you thanking me? Do you want me to get rid of you like Malkuth does, before you even make the littlest complaint? Don't you say that I'm the bad one here. Are you finally admitting to your awful nature? Tiffany, why are you doing this to me? I am not Tiffany, look at me. Can't you even distinguish your own voice anymore? Yes, are you still having that sweet nightmare? When I read the article detailing Michelle's suicide, it was just as our experiment was starting to show some progress. Michelle was the youngest among us. She was a timid and innocent employee. It made her an easy target. Maybe it was her fate to be used as a pawn of the wings that were alert to us, or of the head that would watch over us constantly. You likely didn't know things would go the way they did. You'd never have thought that a puny kid like you would bring about our demise. You'd never have believed that the situation would end up so much worse than your inattentions. You probably tried to comfort yourself in the end, telling yourself that you did the best you could, that in this world, in that moment, there wasn't any other option for you. But Carmen was the person who was trying to change this world, the world you resigned yourself to. If we meet again in hell, will I finally be able to forgive you? I crumpled up the newspaper. And Hod has also gone off the deep end. We are 3 Sephiroth down now. We'll just continue expanding the Central Command Department. I mean, we still gotta grab that last upgrade in Central Command. The button to initiate the suppression of a Sephiroth's core will not appear unless all the Sephiroth's missions dialogue are completed. Conditions not met will be shown if the department building has not met those conditions. When all the conditions have been met, there will be a button that's active in the top left. If you click on it, all employees assigned to that department will be removed and pasted on the bench, and then you will see details of the suppression. The begin management will be raised by begin suppression, and click to start the suppression. So yeah, we can do suppressions now, and we also have the white shields. We are gonna do that. So here we are in real core suppression hours. If you hit this button on anything that's a core suppression, it's enabled for the day, and you can tell the basic goals. So for Malkuth, so you have to reach Quoth level 6+ of the energy, the day will end, that's achieved, and there is some sort of error with the work assignment system. Everyone was unassigned from Central, so we have to put them in some other department if we want them to work. Also, this will mean that their captain bonus will be reset no matter what. So System Control no longer have a... I say Central Control no longer have a captain for a bit, but we want to get this done, so let's do the thing. Alright, so it is now officially real meltdown hours. And with that, it signals the start of a meltdown. Like I was saying earlier, the meltdowns are this game's equivalent of boss battles, and that means that there's one for each Sephiroth, roughly. Each one's pretty difficult, although some are certainly easier than others. I think this one's a bit of a mid-rank one in terms of difficulty. Each meltdown, the Sephiroth will be the only one active, and they'll be in the center of their apartment. They have a lot of quotes that go by as the day progresses. I read them all out, and I was going to cut them as the meltdown was continuing, but it didn't really work out in terms of video structure, so I just cut them all at the end. I tried to grab Mr. Black and Christopher, but I only succeeded in grabbing Mr. Black. It was very tragic. Other notes, things of note. The way this meltdown functions. Each work type is randomly assigned to a different other type of work. So what we need to do is find 3 safe things to work, or like any work type, and work them immediately. So right now I have, so I'm scouting out what these different work types are. But we're in different works with all of them. It's a very simple process, but you need to repeat this a lot during the day. Each meltdown level is shuffled again. For instance, right now, instead of working justice, we are working temperance, according to my notes. That was taken during the day. The best way to work on this day is to, just for me at least, who have a really poor memory, is to write down what each work type has been switched to, each meltdown, and it corresponds, what's the word? They'll always be the same until the meltdown level changes, so as long as you write it down each meltdown level, you'll be fine. You just need to target 3 things that are relatively safe to work with any work type. That's the reason why I moved Mr. Black up to Central, by the way. It's just because I figured having the safe works for one sin was important. The stuff in Central will not melt down today at all, as I said earlier, so there's no reason to have more than one person move up there. Realistically, I probably didn't even need to have Mr. Black move up there. I just move up there. I just wanted to get the safe works in. I tried working with weld cheers instead of one sin, and I got a really bad roll and someone died, so that's why I have moved over to one sin. I'll cut that in after this successful run is done. I just didn't want to spoil the music changes for this meltdown. The first song that was playing was Second Trumpet, by the way. That's the song that would play if we ever hit a second trumpet emergency level. We've never hit that so far. We've only gone to first trumpet. We've hit it a couple times in demonstration videos, but I always have that muted. But now we are listening to the hit song Malkuth Die, which is one of the very few, I believe this is one of the very few songs that was actually composed for this game that is a meltdown song. But I might be incorrect. It might just be a slightly different cut version of one that they got off of SoundCloud or something, because most of these I believe were, most of the songs they used for meltdowns were things from SoundCloud that were free, I believe. They're good songs though. In case you noticed, didn't notice Punishing Bird is broken out, but there's no message from Hod. All the other Sephiroth messages are disabled during a meltdown, although we wouldn't get a message from Hod anyway because she's currently undergoing a meltdown status in the background. Yesod and Hod will not say anything, even if we're not working on Malkuth. If we weren't working on Malkuth, Malkuth wouldn't say anything either. Malkuth is saying things right now though, she's just generating text on the screen in random coordinates. And again, I will read out those messages after the rest of the video is done. Yeah, you can go see, she's saying some words. Tiphereth's mission, it can still be worked on in the background, by the way. It's not listed, its progress isn't listed, we can still accomplish it. Not all missions are like this, but some of them are. So we need to work every meltdown so we don't fail Tiphereth's mission. I was actually planning on I kind of forgot that this is the day that it's landed on the same day as Malkuth's meltdown, or not normally Malkuth's meltdown. So I was actually planning on working Old Faith during this mission, but I never ended up having to. Keeping flushed out on the screen just so I remember to have Marion stop working with it, because if you just keep her on it, bad it is. She dies and like every single abnormality breaks out, which is almost certainly a reset. I mean, Goom's gotten strong, but he's not that strong. And we only have one super agent right now. Something interesting about the work type shuffles, this is the only time in the game where abnormalities with special work types will use what this special work type is covering. For instance, if Fortitude corresponds to Temperance during Malkuth's shutdown, you can actually have someone work Temperance in Little Red by having them work Fortitude. So Little Red's Temperance rates, this is the only time they're applicable in the entire game. I just thought that was interesting. From a plot level, Malkuth's shutdown as Meltdown as Wonderlands I don't really fully understand. I was gonna try to cover like the Sephiroth's stories during these videos because I'm planning on cutting most of these, any of this stuff from this. Just because I think it's more interesting to see the boss fights in one long stretch. This is also one of the reasons this video is so long. Ordeals still spawn in Malkuth, by the way, it's just the Meltdowns that don't. And I think there should be one more, but I can't find it. Oh well, I don't really know what was up with that. But it's just clowns. Not a major threat as long as we can stay on top of them. In other news, we can see Aleph type, the strength of an Aleph weapon. It's pretty strong. Just casually killing the clown in like a second. I mean, true, it is a death level threat, but man, I love the Aleph weapons. They're all like that, and we will hopefully see most of them. There's the one I hopefully don't want to see just because the abnormality is pretty annoying, but the rest I'm fine with. Ironically, it's the only Aleph who's appeared so far in the playthrough. It's the one that I didn't want, and I didn't pick it up. End up picking it up, so whatever. It's really funky that Judgement Road has a left tier offense without being a left, and a left tier armor without being a left, but I'm fine with it. Since the day instantly ends and you get the energy required, the ordeals are actually super helpful in this, just for giving you even more energy. Although, not necessarily until you get to like the higher ones, where I wouldn't consider them like necessary to beat. You could safely ignore most of them. The red ordeals are not in that category, or red dawn. You can ignore red noon because it doesn't split off until you kill it. I just want to see Mr. Block with the Crown of Thorns. I'm gonna be honest, it's not Terry's not that work. I just think it'd look nice on him. We're trying to make sure we do things like Justice on DRV and Dreaming Currents, and Fortitude on Little Red with Eric, and Prudence on Scarecrow. This is just to make sure that training continues, as is typical for Lobotomy Club. Even Malkuth melting down does not stop the daily grind. Anyway, before I was interrupted by Red Noon, I was going to talk about the origin, Malkuth's entire plot line, as far as I understand it. I don't really have a good grasp on Malkuth's issues in the game. All the Sephiroth have them, and it's the entire reason why they melted down in the first place. I just don't really fully understand Malkuth's for whatever reason. It just never really clicked with me, her plot line. Probably because it has to devote a lot of time to introducing the concepts of ordeals and Sephiroth. And then her third cutscene is mostly bogged down to her talking to Malkuth and Hod, which she only gets like 4 before her meltdown. From what I can gather, it's just that she wants to be seen as a strong, tough leader type, and that she's obsessed with like making her department seem perfect and stuff like that. But she cannot live up to that image herself because of her own personal flaws, and that is why she is mad. And also because you watched her die. That too. Or watched her die, but she seems pretty convinced that it was you. I wonder what that means. Probably nothing. I mean, can I even really treat that as a twist? I don't know. It's pretty obvious. I said I would be discussing plot, so it'll come up in a few days anyway. I put the spoiler warning in the video. You can't complain. We switched to the final Malkuth Meltdown song. We're also kind of alternating between DRV and Letitia as safe works for this. Realistically, Letitia's safer than DRV just because I really don't want to see DRV breach, but DRV has a cold health counter of 2, so it'll be fine. And also, I really doubt anyone's going to panic with it anyway. It's just safer to work on Letitia because she's doing enough damage. The worst thing to meltdown right now is almost certainly... What's its face? Woodsman. I can't believe I keep forgetting its name. It's been in this facility for so long. It's like half the playthrough at this point. I still can't remember its name. I'm not a fan. But we only have Li Shichang who can work on Woodsman safely. And that's his entire role in the facility. Furthermore, if Li Shichang screws up on Woodsman, it's no longer a safe work at all. And somebody would have to die if we wanted to finish Tiphereth's mission. There's one more trick specific to meltdown to this day, or at all, any day actually. We could end the day before the meltdown level expires, which in this case would be rushing a bunch of works at once. The rushing a bunch of work strategy will be important later on to deal with a certain mission we will be doing during the meltdowns, but for right now, we are just playing this like a normal day, with a lot more pausing to consult my notes. Overall, this day isn't that bad. Like I said earlier, it's the middle of the pack in terms of meltdowns. It could definitely screw you over if you're not careful or if you don't know what's going on. But I think for this day specifically, figuring out what's going on is the challenge, and figuring out how to work around that. Once you know just what's happening and to write it down in between each level, it's really not that big of a problem. You could pretty easily accomplish it on your first or second try. Hopefully first. This is my second though. As I said earlier, just kind of got screwed over by well cheers, which is why it's not been seeing any work right now. Not a fan of well cheers. Not very good abnormality. It's very rude for killing someone multiple times. I wanted to get to today's try look on Among Us, but the problem is I also don't want... There's another facet to the meltdown that starts on 4 and continues through 5. It only goes to... Once 6 hits, the day will end anyway. It will continue if we have enough energy at 6, but we will. We're only 29 away when we have 1.5 more meltdown levels. Scarecrow just broke out because Spyreal got its ego gift. We can still accomplish the goal for today because as long as we have enough energy when the other goal of Tiphereth's mission for the day, because we can still work Scarecrow, it'll just break out after it's done melting down. But I wanted to test something, so I'm having everyone move out of the department where Scarecrow's about to walk into, except for Goom, who's going to walk into it. Because I wanted to see if Goom could solo it. And the answer is yes. Yes, Goom can. I love Aleph weapons. They're so good. Joy shows up, but like, honestly, she's more of a liability. She was taking more damage than Goom and doing not nearly as much damage. It just goes to show. The worst Aleph weapon, the worst wall weapon in terms of DPS is not as good as an Aleph weapon. Who would have thought? Scarecrow is also really weak to Pale, so that also helps, but I really, really like an Aleph weapon that I can get my hands on. I might have to cheat in the Let's Play a few more rolls to get more Alephs, just because I don't really know how possible the last days are without a good, decent supply of Aleph mid-gear. Probably pretty possible, but I don't know. It's not really cheating, it's just taking heart abnormalities. I don't know. We hopefully won't have to do that. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway. This is almost over. This is the last work of this meltdown level. We just have these 10 to work through and we will be done. In terms of meltdowns. But 10 is a big number. In case you were not aware. That's like 2.5 departments worth of abnormalities melting down at once. And we cannot cancel works at all right now. I meant to bring that up earlier. This makes today's shit look much tougher to work with than earlier. We can't really use it as a safe work unless we send someone in with Eke, who has a Wa suit and takes it as a 0.6 to black. This is because if we could easily get screwed by today's shadow look landing on a bad. But we're using One Sin, Punishing Bird, and Shy Look as testers. Once all of the works start, we can write down what the works correspond to for the last time today. And then, once we have all that noted down, we can begin working with the rest of the stuff that's melting down. Except you might notice I made a slight mistake. Can you figure it out? We will give you, I'll give you time to see if you could figure out the error. Am I working on your own? Because I think it's a fun and interactive game experience to taunt me for being a failure. I'm just really failing at looking at my notes here, don't mind me. It takes me like forever to do it. I had a bit of a issue where I wrote an I instead of a P, so I couldn't figure out where Prudence was in Judgement Birds works. My buddy Eric and Goom have the glasses locked on their character, by the way. That means if they roll another, I did that in between days. If they roll another I slot ego, it won't be able to be applied. They'll just stick with the glasses. I also locked in Goom's headphones. Fashion. The music stopped and it hasn't started looping again because I had the game paused for so long. But here it goes. Li He Chang. The issue I made earlier was that Li He Chang was working on Punishing Bird, but I needed him to work on the Woodsman Meltdown. I almost called it a Scarecrow. Scarecrow is a different thing. Spyriel can work on Scarecrow again, even though it'll break out, but we can just have Goom solo it. We already know how easy it is for him to kill. So we'll do that. I really like the appearance of Red Eyes. Eric's wearing it right now, even though it's not really that great for us. I wish I had more walls, but I always do, really. I haven't really had if I ever set up a facility the way I want it to be, I feel like I'd be able to get through the game a lot with a lot less issues. Although, I mean, it's going pretty well so far, the random rolls. I might get into more detail with this at the end of the middle layer, like I did for the last layer. I actually am feeling better about it than I was at the end of Safety, though, I'll say that much. A lot of them might just be due to getting Judgement Bird, which I missed last time. It never even showed up. Hopefully the last bird shows up soon, so I can continue my streak of having good feelings about the facility. Malkuth has switched posture, by the way. She's droopy now. How sad. It's because we've almost finished off her exciting gameplay experience. I don't really know what the meltdowns are supposed to be in the lore. They're just kind of a weird... There's a bit of a weird disconnect between what's happening and them, because they're not really fighting them. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't think about it too hard. I don't know if you lose Lob for abnormality being out at the end of a meltdown like you do on a normal day. My guess would be no, but this is Lobotomy Corp, so the answer is very likely yes. I've never bothered to look it up. Realistically, it's not going to matter much. We should be able to... If we don't... As long as we're not spending too much Lob, we should have enough for what I want it for at the end of the game anyway. And that's our last work for the day. Because after this work is started, Malkuth's meltdown will end. We don't have to deal with it at all. Here is the failed attempt. Big F's to Christopher in the chat for being the one who made me restart. And with that, we've cleared both Malkuth's suppression and Tiphereth's worth mission. Wasn't really focused on getting stats overall, like just trying to assign evil works that would, so not super high growth, but growth nonetheless. It should be about what we're seeing for the next few days as we're going through a bunch of meltdowns at once. But I mean, just because everything's melting down around us doesn't mean we're not going to open a new department to get new abnormalities. So yeah, we still have a new boy to pick up. Just one. Tiphereth's department's done with, and that was the last double day. Oh, 4100, the more blood it has, the more beautiful it is. How many times has it showed up? It's a Teth. Oh, 484, that's not a flower, or all employees nearby to activate community. Another Teth that everyone hates. I'm fine with it, mostly. Not really, though. I don't really want it. Oh, 145, I shall heal you, curing you of all disease and injury you possess. Oh man, I've never seen this one show up. It's really rare, and I don't really want it for this run. Because I am lame. SSAN with some special properties. We're taking number 1. Bloodman. And now it is time for Bird Lore 2. A bird that used to judge living in a dark forest, carrying around an unbalanced scale. The scale always tilts the same direction, but it doesn't know this as its eyes are covered, or perhaps it's turning a blind eye to this truth. In fact, the bird was once an even-handed justicar. Its scale would never neglect the weight of even the smallest sin. The long bird made a scale that was capable of weighing any sin to maintain the peace of the forest. At one point, the bird's eyes could see through anything. The eyes always shone brilliantly, burning like stars in the night sky. But it gave its eyes to the big bird in order to protect the forest. Now only the void fills its eye sockets. The bandage is in tatters, like it could tear off at any second. The bird's face was once covered in gleaming feathers, but they fell out as it spent too much time without sunlight. All that remains is the unjust scale. The long bird continues on, doling out judgment. What a beautiful story. This is what you call a truly uncontrollable situation, manager. Everything's all jumbled up, messed up, flustered. It's unpredictable, isn't it? I could have done it. I just wanted to help out. I knew I didn't have any right to participate in the experiment, that's why I was so impatient. Make sure you feel this horrible sense of helplessness to your core, right to your heart. Please watch me, manager. I can take care of the situation, no problem. I still have so much to do, just look at my notebook. It's all worn out. Can't you hear it? The sound of it struggling, as if to say it can't fall asleep like this. Will you finally praise me? I just want to feel proud. Be honest, back then it wasn't that hard to turn around and look back at me. I see now how much fun it can be to look down on someone, manager. Ah, so I couldn't do it.